he said that our nature, this desire we have, is about loving God more than ourselves. If we didn't, we would be perverted in our nature. So we are supposed to love God more than ourselves. What it means? It means that we are ready to, morally speaking, as far as our moral actions go, we are supposed to live a kind of self-sacrifice, to submit ourselves to a higher order of things. And that's what moral life is about, right? Whenever I see something that ought to be done, or ought not to be done, I act morally if I'm ready to sacrifice whatever I like for what ought to be done. This is the moral truth of our conscience. Our conscience will tell us, okay, whatever you like right now, you shouldn't do that. You like this lady, but she's not your wife, so just forget what you like right now and think of your wife. And so we have this conflict sometimes between something we like and something we know that it's good that we do or not do. So that means that when we act morally, we are actually giving ourselves to something higher than what we like. So our entire moral life is about giving ourselves for what? For the love of this higher thing. So since we love the Creator, the God who actually ordered everything in a particular way, and we just read it in the Catechism, we can see it through our reason, the order of things, what they need. We are able to act according to this order. And since we love the master of this order more than ourselves, we give ourselves to the owner of this order. It's like, in a sense, let's go back to the fairy tale story. Let's say that we are living in a great castle, right? It's wonderful, it's made for us. Somebody gave this to us. Imagine that you are actually using this amazing gift. I mean, your benefactor built this amazing castle, better than Hogwarts, much better, right? And you enjoy everything in this castle. You see how things are arranged and organized, and it's been given to you, it's a present. So if you love the person who gave you this castle is this world, right? What would you do? Would you just destroy this order? Wouldn't you feel guilty if you kind of burnt a table in this castle? Because it is a present, but how can I show love to the person who gave me this present if I don't respect the meaning of it? It's like in the family, if somebody just does something at home and you just destroy it, you're not just destroying the thing, you're actually showing to the family person that you don't care. So in a sense, when we respect the order of things in the castle, we are loving the master of the castle. We give ourselves to him. And this is the kind of meaning, cosmological meaning of our moral life. So we are supposed to live in this world, as in this castle. We understand the order of things. We can see from the mind's eyes of the person who actually created it, how things are actually put in each place. We can see that that's the right place for things. And the reason, when we respect this order, we try to make it even real when something goes wrong. So we are showing love to the person who created the order. So the entire moral life is about being loved and loving back. I receive the present from God, the existence of this world. I should give it back to him. And it's kind of playing with kids, right? God doesn't need it. But all we can do is to give back to him what he gave to ourselves. That's what we can do. Actually, even liturgy works this way. If you focus on the liturgy of the Mass, you will see that we offer to God the very victim of the sacrifice, which doesn't make any sense, right? Jesus is committing the sacrifice, and we offer himself to him. I mean, God is playing with us, but that's all we can do. It's like kids giving back to him what he gave to us, as much as we can. And that's the meaning of moral life. So, Karol Wojtyla, even before being Pope, said that the human person is can be defined as a person whose justice is to be loved. I mean, what is just to do, what is right to do with the human person is to love him or her. And the only way for a person to answer to this love is to love back. So somehow, this entire moral life, this entire Christian anthropology thing, starts and ends with an act of love. God creates us. He makes us a special being, able to love, and to love something that goes beyond his love, to love himself. Then he tells us more about it through revelation, and he expects us to go back to him, loving him at both at the natural level and the supernatural level. Now I should promise to answer the questions and to have some time for it. Okay.
Can you talk a bit more about the difference between our nature and God's nature? And what the difference is and how you come up with applying what our nature is and God's nature?
Well, okay, let's say there is no way to answer this question because we don't really know God's nature. Right? We don't know what God is in himself. So what we call divine in God is actually a way to name what cannot be named, right? This is not possession by God. It can be named, but cannot be. We don't know God directly. We know God as creator of what we see around us. So what we can say, for example, is that God is definitely more powerful than any power in this world, right? But we don't know what it is. It's much above our heads. So what we know for sure, and the Catechism is clear in this very first chapter, is that we know God as a personal being. That means that we know that he created the world out of free choice. And we know that this creation, but this needs some more work by our intellect, is also an act of law, and we need to answer to this law with our loving him. So we know that he's free. He actually freely created the world. He's a loving creator. He's good. So he's not bad. So, but whatever we can say about him is actually something that is kind of praised as an issue by our knowing ourselves, what's best in ourselves, and then referring in a way that cannot be even imagined at the highest level about him. So this is what we can know using our natural reason. Then through revelation, we know something else, and that requires an act of faith. It is 1 and 3 at the same time, which is not a contradiction. It is 1 as the divine nature and 3 as persons, right? But these are things that we cannot really understand. It's a mystery of the faith, and so there is no way to really, if you could actually, when you distinguish something from something else, it's because you have both things in front of your eyes, and you can compare the two things. There is no way to compare God with his creation, because there is no term of comparison, right? So I don't know if this answers your question, but the only way to answer it is that there is no answer to this question, because we should be above God to compare him to whatever piece of his creation. So, but that's the beauty of it. I mean, we love God not because we understand God. We aim at something that we don't really can see and understand. We are looking like with something on our eyes. We don't see clearly. But we can see that something is there. Somebody is there. Oh wait, I mean, this somebody is actually loving us. Great, but that's all we can say, pretty much.
And we're thinking about it because, and you mentioned it briefly, we're confused by the fact that Jesus Christ is one person, two natures, and then the Trinity, and Christ part of that Trinity is one nature. but one divine nature. So I guess, so does that imply that we think that Christ doesn't have his human nature anymore?
As God, of course, Jesus Christ doesn't have a human nature because God cannot be blended with human nature. Somehow it's the human nature being divinized, being taken on by Jesus Christ. But this is another mystery of faith. We don't know how that works. But for sure, when you focus on the nature of God, you cannot mix the nature of God with something material, because that would be definitely, that would make God so imperfect. So somehow the human nature would exist in God. There's a kind of something taken by the divine nature, which still is something different. So the way in which God incarnated is definitely the second main mystery of our faith, precisely because of this reason. It's so close to be a heresy and a philosophical absurdity that that's exactly why we cannot really reach the point of giving an explanation. All we can do is to avoid contradiction. It would be a contradiction to see that the divine nature is actually partly composed by something which is created, because it is uncreated, right? So, by definition. So, but it's like for her question, all we can do is to try to figure that there is a way to avoid contradiction. But then, what it is in itself, you don't say. Wow, these are advanced questions. Okay.
I came in late, so I'm not sure if you touched on it, but could you maybe talk a little bit about the role of virtues in Christian anthropology, and perhaps like more specifically the role they play in man's capacity for God?
Thank you. So you actually are putting back in play the last section of my talk. Yes, I love to talk about virtues, and I think it's a big part of our understanding of Christian anthropology, because part of the picture is that we are not yet what we are, which is apparently a great contradiction. But that's exactly the case. So virtue is the perfection of what we are. It's like having good muscles for an athlete. So you are, with the muscles, you can do something better. You can perform better than without muscles. So in our moral life, we are, we don't understand what is good properly unless we develop some kind of special muscles. And I like to talk about it because we don't usually think about it enough. It's not like in the movies. In the movies, in about 60 minutes, it looks like people can change completely. From being unfaithful, becoming the most faithful person, from being unreliable, becoming the most reliable person. That doesn't happen in real life. In real life, if you are an unfaithful person, if you are not paying attention, if you don't even, some selfish people don't even realize that other people might have some needs or something they need. They don't see it. So a loving person can walk around and immediately grasp that there is a baby who needs something. But a selfish and all self-centered person wouldn't even notice that. So this is a muscle that needs to be developed. So it takes years and years, and sometimes you reach the point of no return. There are people who reach the age, or they become old age people, and there is no way you can make them see something nuanced in your life. For example, in the way they deal with younger people or some other people in their workplaces. So basically, when we are acting morally, we are, as this quotation from the Gospel of Truth, which is this document from John Paul II, as the Pope says, we are kind of, in a sense, our own parents. We create ourselves.